Before starting any repair, disconnect the negative battery terminal. This repair is for the Infiniti QX56 and the QX80. This is difficult as the starter is on the center of the engine under the intake manifold. This is the direct injection 5.6 liter engine, so it applies to a lot of the newer models. Let's start by removing these two 10mm bolts to get the cover off. It looks like our time at the beach really got some sand inside of our engine compartment. You'll find that there are two additional bolts at the bottom of the cover before you take it off. These right here on the back of this, right here to secure this in. This is the engine compartment with the cover off. Let's remove these three bolts to remove the airbox. You do not have to remove it from the entire car, but you can push it to the right of the engine compartment while doing this repair. Use your screwdriver to remove these clamps. This retainer is why I suggested just moving the airbox to the right so you don't have to cut it. While you're here, take the time to look at your air filter and see if there's any dirt inside of the actual box. I took my shop vac and cleaned mine out. Remove this hose and plug that lead to the throttle body to be able to move the airbox. We're going to remove this to have access to the throttle body. Then we will begin to remove these hoses. I'll be careful and label each of these hoses to make sure we reconnect them properly. Labeling the hoses makes it super easy when it comes to reattaching them. Going with my handy dandy screwdriver. Once this is removed, we have direct access to the throttle body. There are four 8mm screws holding the throttle body in place. Remove them. This is an 8mm. While you have it loose, clean your throttle body as it improves engine performance, prevents stalling, and restores factory condition. Let's remove and label these hoses on the right side of the intake manifold. You'll need a good set of pliers as you have to push the clamps together to open them up to be able to slide them down the length of the hose and remove it from where it's attached. The intake manifold is held in place by 10 bolts. Let's remove the 5 on the right side. Don't forget to remove the hose near the right rear of the intake manifold. Removing this hose will also give you more room to get to the last bolt on the right side of the intake manifold. Let's take all the bolts out. These are the ones that came off of the throttle body, and these are the ones that come off the side of the manifold. You can see the ones on the throttle body are slightly longer. Just in the event that you've mixed up your screws, this is something to go by. The ones on the throttle body are longer than the 10 that will be on the side, 5 on each side of the manifold when you're taking it off. Once all the bolts are out on both sides of the intake manifold, it will slide right out after removing the plug holding it in the back. Cover up the intake ports on the engine to keep something from falling inside of them and damaging your engine. This is the starter. I hate how deep it is inside the engine. There's a plug behind there. Remove the boot back to access the nut that holds the power wire in place.
Nut back right here.
Remove the last two 14mm bolts holding the starter in place. You may want to use something to give your ratchet some leverage to make loosening them up easier. Now that I have them out, here's the old starter compared to the new one. I purchased this one from a reputable store on Amazon. I will put links to the part in the description. You can see inside of the flywheel. There's debris here, so I'm going to clean it out with my shop vac. Now I'm putting in the new starter. I have to bolt it in place using the 14mm bolts that go in the back. I like to start by hand tightening them, then come back with my cordless ratchet.
Go. We got the new one secured in there. Now we just have to reattach everything.
Grab the boot and attach the power wire to the starter. Reattach this plug. Remove the plugs you have over the intake ports, then reattach the plug in the back of the intake. This is where the plug in the back is located. You may have to move the intake manifold some to reattach it and then promptly put the intake manifold back in place. Now refasten the 10 bolts that hold the intake in place. It is easier for me to put them back in place by using my needle nose pliers and then tighten them back up. Now that the intake is fastened back in, reattach the throttle body. Remember, it will bolt in using 4 screws. If you have not taken the time to clean it, please do so now. Reattach the duct assembly. Put the airbox back into its proper place and snap in the plug. Tighten up the clamps to keep everything in place. Reattach the intake manifold bolts on the left side if you have not already done so. Reattach the hoses. Use the numbers on the tape to remember where each hose goes. Fasten the airbox down using the 3 bolts. Secure the clamps.
Broke this right here. As I was in here, this should be about this long. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut the sides right here, just so this can slide on there, and we can put this on. I'm gonna put a little JB weld to make it stick right there. I got a 30-minute set time on it. Yes, they did it. We may have a little leaking from there, I don't know. I suspect with the JB weld on there we won't. Only time to tell.
Now time to put the cover back on. Reconnect the battery. The new starter did not give us any hesitation and seems to be extremely responsive. Thanks for watching.